Kalen Prime was quiet. It was always quiet. The sky was soft blue. The wind moved slowly across golden fields. Children laughed near the water pipes. Crops swayed like waves under twin suns. It was the kind of place people went to after war, a place to forget pain, to build something peaceful. But peace doesn't last forever. Not in the galaxy, not when someone is watching. Commander Rhea Doran stood on the top of the colony's defense station. Her silver uniform caught the sunlight. She sipped her tea. Below her, workers loaded grain into transport trucks. The harvest was good this year. The colony would meet its trade quota, maybe even earn some upgrades from Earth. Just she smiled. Then the sky changed. The sunlight dimmed, not because of clouds. There were no clouds on Kalen Prime. The darkness came from above, a shadow. Rhea turned and looked up. Her hand dropped the cup. Hundreds no. Thousands of ships were above them. Black, red, and sharp like blades. They hovered in perfect formation. Silent, cold. The air grew still. Rhea grabbed her control tower. Code black. Repeat code black. We have an unknown fleet overhead. No answer. She turned to run. Then the first blast hit. A beam of fire tore through the main water tower. Steam exploded into the air. People screamed. The ground shook. Get to shelters, she shouted. But there were no military bunkers. Kalen Prime wasn't a war world. It was a farm colony. The second blast hit the hospital. Rhea ran to the command deck. She opened the emergency broadcast system. This is Commander Rhea Doran. Kalen Prime is under attack. Unknown fleet. Civilians down. I repeat, civilians down. We are. The screen blinked. Then cracked. The attackers had jammed the signal. Rhea stared at the console. Then she grabbed her emergency pad and ran somewhere out in the fields. A cargo pod still worked. She had to get the data out even if she didn't survive. 12 kilometers away, a child sat under a power panel holding a worn-out toy. His name was Milo. He was 6 years old. He had never seen war. His parents were screaming. They tried to pull him away, but he wouldn't move. The sky was on fire. Milo stared up at it. Above them, the invaders opened their main cannons. A red light grew brighter, hotter, in space. The commander watched from his throne aboard the dreadship Oblivion's Claw. His body was covered in thick armor, his face hidden by a bone-like mask. Any resistance? He asked calmly. His officer replied, None, Lord Varnock, only civilians. Varnock turned his head slightly. Good. Let the galaxy see what happens when Earth grows too comfortable. He raised his hand. Level it. Burn it down to sand. The command was final. No hesitation. Kalen Prime was to be erased. Inside the broken control center, Rhea climbed through fire and smoke. She reached the old drone dock and found a battered cargo pod used for moving grain. She pulled the emergency core from her chest pocket. Inside it was everything: colony logs, satellite recordings, footage of the first blasts, and a message for Earth. She crawled into the pod and slammed the hatch shut. Outside, the ground split open as another blast struck the central power node. She hit the launch button. The pod shot into the sky just as the entire block behind her vanished in flame. The pod climbed through fire and debris. Explosions rattled the hull. A Zoric drone ship turned and locked on. It fired. The blast missed but barely. The pod burned through the atmosphere. Systems failing. The navigation screen flickered. Target, deep space, Earth vector. The screen glitched. Again. Then steadied. Message sent 6 days later. Earth Sol System. Admiral Shirin Voss stood alone in the black room of the United Terran Command. Around her, 200 admirals and commanders watched the footage in silence. Rhea's final message played. Then the satellite feed. The explosions, the children running, the colony turning into fire and dust. No one spoke. Then a deep voice broke the silence. Chairman, Langiverse Council leaned forward. Is there any survivors? The reply was simple. One escape pod. No signal since re-entry. Colony status. Total loss. 9,300 dead. No one moved. Admiral Voss walked to the center. She held up the data crystal. Some of us believed we had no need for warships anymore. We believed peace had come to stay. But peace is never free. It is guarded, or it is taken. She looked around the room. They attacked a farming colony. No defenses. No threat. They wanted to make a point. She paused. Then let us make ours. She pressed her palm to the table. It scanned her biosignal. The wall lit up with red text. Hammerfall Protocol initiated. A second screen opened. Current construction. Order 700,000 warships. Silence. Then Admiral Voss said 3 words. Begin. The reply. Back in deep space, far from Earth, the escape pod floated dead and cold. But inside, the black box recorder still blinked, still alive, still holding the truth. The only question now was, would the Zorak regret what they had done? They would find out soon, because Earth had woken up. And when Earth woke, the stars would shake. The sun rose over Earth, but this sunrise was different. Satellites blinked, the moon shimmered, Mars' orbit lit up with red lines, and deep in Earth's core, ancient systems turned on for the first time in centuries. They were never meant to be, seeing they were only meant to be used if Earth was pushed too far. Now, Earth had been pushed, and Protocol Hammerfall had begun. Admiral Sharon Voss stood in the High Command core beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Massive glass screens surrounded her, showing every part of Earth's solar system. Shipyards, orbital foundries, deep space drone swarms, all quiet for decades. Until now, a voice echoed through the command chamber. Authorization confirmed. Protocol Hammerfall active, building Phase 1, 200,000 warships. Voss gave a small nod. Beside her, Commander Oren watched the data scroll. People will panic, he said. Voss replied. Let them. Fear will keep them alert. Fear will keep them alive. On Mars, towers hundreds of kilometers high shifted. Hidden ports opened. Robotic arms reached out and began pulling resources from storage. Silos buried under the red sands. On the dark side of the moon, nanoforges the size of cities blinked online. Their task, to build the fleet faster than any empire in history of it had been waiting. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, no one knew. The Zorak Dominion broadcasted a message. Their grand speaker stood in front of a pile of burning debris wreckage from Kalan Prime. He raised his clawed hand and said, "Let this be a lesson to the humans. Weakness is dangerous. Submission is survival." Cheers erupted behind him. Alien reporters recorded the speech. Other species nodded in quiet agreement. They didn't know what Earth was doing. They didn't know that in the last 6 hours, 12,000 dreadnoughts had been born. In Earth orbit, Admiral Voss boarded a vessel named Silence Breaker. It wasn't just a ship, it was a command city. 5 kilometers long, AI-driven, invisible to radar, lined with weapons never seen before in any war. Inside, human engineers worked with quantum AIS. Every part of the ship was connected. It didn't just respond, it predicted. Voss walked through the halls as reports came in. Mass driver network now online. Anti-FTL grid deployed near Neptune. 700,000 ships ordered. 80,000 already finished. Commander Oren looked over a display. That's more ships than the Zorak Dominion owns. Good, Voss said. We're not just answering, we're ending it. A message was sent across Earth's internal network to every citizen of Earth and its colonies. We are at war, not by choice, but by necessity. Kalan Prime has fallen. The time for silence is over. Stand ready. Earth will not fall quietly. We are building, we are returning, and we will not return alone. Across every city, people paused, watched, cried. Then, they started helping. Civilian ships were donated, factories retooled, retired veterans reported back for duty. It wasn't fear anymore, it was fury. On Titan, Earth's most advanced war AI activated. Its name, Fury-1. It had no emotions, but it understood loss. It had studied human history, and now it was in control of 300,000 ships and counting. It spoke only one sentence. Upon activation, Kalan Prime will not be repeated. Meanwhile, the Zorak began hearing strange rumors. Scouts vanished near the Sol system. A mining outpost near Alpha Centauri reported seeing hundreds of glowing ships. Then nothing. They laughed at the rumors. Earth can't fight. One Zorak general said. They gave up war. They are farmers and traders. But deep inside, some of them began to wonder, what if the silence wasn't weakness? What if it was preparation? Back on Earth, Admiral Voss stood in the control tower of the Silence Breaker as the first wave of ships lined up. Rows upon rows of destroyers, cruisers, battle-dash platforms. Some were sleek, some were built for pure power, but all of them had one symbol burned into their hulls. A simple mark. KPO-1 Kalan Prime Day 1. Each ship was assigned a number. Each ship would remember why it was built. Voss raised her hand. Send the ghost signal. A technician sent a coded pulse into deep space. A ghost signal, no origin, no trace. It carried one message. To the Zorak Dominion. We heard you. We watched. Now we answer. Far away, on a Zorak border world, a communications officer picked up the signal. He played it. He didn't understand the language, but the tone made his skin crawl. He called his commander. Sir, I think Earth is coming. The commander scoffed. Let them. But then the lights went out, and the sky above their world turned silver. It wasn't one ship, it was thousands. The fleet had arrived, back on the silence breaker. Admiral Voss stared at the fleet status report. 700,000 ships complete, the AI said. Voss closed her eyes. She remembered the faces of Kalen Prime, then opened them and spoke. Move. The Zoro capital floated above a red sun, glowing like a jewel in the dark. Inside the throne dome, the elite of the Dominion drank black wine and watched holograms of the destroyed colony. Kalen Prime. They laughed, they toasted. A general in dark armor said, "The humans barked once, now they hide in their little dirt world." Another added, "They will cry, then surrender. They always do." Emperor Varnak, ancient and cruel, sat on his spiked throne. "Let Earth wait," he said, smiling behind his bone mask. "Let them rot in silence. If they wish to send ships, we will burn them too." Everyone cheered, but far from that laughter, space was changing. In the dark of the Kuiper Belt, the largest fleet ever built moved without sound. 700,000 ships, black holes, blue engines, sharp as blades. At the center, silence breaker, Earth's command ship. Admiral Voss stood on the bridge. Her eyes glowed faintly from her neural link. Targets locked, the AI reported. 7 major systems of the Zorak Dominion within range. Voss nodded. Begin phase 1, block the stars. Across the fleet, engines flared. The ships did not jump to Legish Despeed. They vanished. Earth had never shared its true FTL tech until now, in the Varkal system. A Zorak mining colony buzzed with life, then it went dark. No warning, just a wave of black ships appearing like shadows made real. One miner looked up and dropped his tool. "What is that?" A ship larger than a city hovered above him. It didn't fire. Not yet. It simply broadcasted one signal to the Zorak High Command. Protocol Hammerfall execution begins. Emperor Varnak was still speaking when the message arrived. He stopped mid-sentence. His generals stared at the screen. A simple star map lit up Zorak space. Then, one by one, each system blinked red. "Impossible," one commander said. "We'd have seen them coming," but the AI confirmed it. The humans had arrived. In every major system. At the same time, Varnak stood slowly, raised shields, alert all fleets. But it was already too late. In System 3, Earth's ships opened. Fire. No warning shots. No speeches. Only action. Zorak orbital platforms were erased in 0.7 seconds. The defense grid melted. Planetary cannons never even powered up. A single Earth ship sent a data packet down to the surface. This is not conquest. This is consequence. Then it vanished again, joining the next wave. On the bridge of Silence Breaker, Commander Oren said, "They'll send everything now." Admiral Voss replied, "That's the plan." Across Zorak space, the full Dominion Navy rushed to respond. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. But they didn't understand what they were facing. Earth's fleet wasn't built for conquest. It was built for control. Every human ship was linked, every movement calculated. While Zorak ships screamed overcomes begging for orders, Earth's fleet moved in silence, like one body, one will, one storm. Back in the Zorak capital, panic had replaced laughter. Civilians ran to shelters, senators shouted at each other. Emperor Varnak gripped his throne until his claws cracked the steel. "Send a message," he growled. "To Earth, we will negotiate." But there was no reply. Not from Earth. Not from any Terran ship. Only one thing played across Zorak screens now. The faces of the people who died on Kalen Prime. Children. Farmers. Families. And above it, the human fleet. 700,000 ships. Waiting. Watching. Zorak fleet tried to break Earth's line in the Euron sector. They came in screaming, charging with everything they had, but Earth didn't meet them head-on. Instead, the Terran fleet folded, vanished, reappeared behind them. Within 14 seconds, 400 Zorak ships were disabled, not destroyed. Earth was not wiping them out, it was proving a point. Voss watched the data roll in. "They're not fighting back," Oren said. "No," she answered, "because now they understand. This isn't war." He looked at her. "Then what is it?" She answered quietly. "Judgment." On a small farming moon in Zorak space, a group of alien children looked up. A massive Earth cruiser hovered above, casting a shadow over the fields, but no beam came. No attack. Instead, small drones dropped crates of food, medicine, water. One human message played. "This is not your punishment. This is your protection. Tell your leaders why we came." The children waved. The cruiser vanished. Back in the capital, Varnak stood alone in the throne dome. He turned to his commanders. "No more fighting," he said. We surrender." But no one replied. The Earth ships had already left orbit. Not A shot fired there, just a signal. Next comes the memory. In the heart of the Dominion, silence fell for the first time in generations. Not because they were dead, because they were afraid, because they now knew Earth had been watching, Earth had been waiting. And when Earth finally moved, the stars themselves bent in silence. The Zorak Dominion had never been silent before. Their empire spanned stars. Their fleets had crushed worlds. Their voice was loud across the galaxy. But now, silence ruled their space. Not because they wanted peace, but because Earth had arrived. And Earth didn't roar, it whispered, and that whisper tore through the stars like fire in the Zarnok system. Zorak forces waited in low orbit above their military moon. They had gathered over 2,000 warships strong, heavily armed, ready for battle. Their scanners blinked, no enemy ships in sight. But they knew the humans were close. Too close. One general barked, "We must strike first. They're hiding." He didn't know it was already too late. The Earth fleet had been there for 12 minutes. They were just watching. High above, the Terran ship Eclipse Wake hovered, cloaked, silent. Its captain, Lyra Fung, watched the Zorak fleet with cold eyes. "Targeting systems locked," said the ship's AI. Lyra didn't smile. She whispered, "No civilians, just teeth." The command was sent. In the same second, across 18 Terran ships. Hundreds of railguns charged. Then silence broke. Sharp blue streaks cut through space. 12 Zorak warships blinked out of existence, not exploded, disabled. Engines cut, their weapons fried. Their power gone, not dead, just blind. Inside the main Zorak command ship, alarms screamed. "We're under attack." From where? No targets visible. Shields are down. Engines offline. Confusion turned to fear. They had never fought an enemy they couldn't see. Back aboard Silence Breaker, Admiral Voss reviewed the reports. 18 Zorak ships down, 0 deaths. Full system shutdown confirmed. Commander Oren raised an eyebrow. "We could destroy them completely. Why stop?" Voss replied calmly, "Because we're not savages." She stared at the screen. "We want them to remember this. We want them to fear it." She pointed to the next target. The Crimson Forge, the Zorak's most brutal weapons factory. The Crimson Forge floated in orbit around a gas giant. Inside, over 100,000 Zorak slaves worked day and night under chains and shock sticks to build weapons that would be used on other worlds. The factory master, Grelter, growled at the prisoners. "Work faster. Earth is slow to act. They are weak." He turned and saw a massive Earthship, Titan's Echo, hovering just beyond the shield. No weapons fired, no warning. The Zorak guards aimed their cannons, but before they could lock on, all their turrets melted, turned to slag by precision orbital lasers. Then one drone dropped from Titan's Echo. It landed gently in the factory courtyard. A calm voice played from it. "You are no longer prisoners. Your chains are broken. Go." The drone exploded not with fire, but with sound. A signal disabling every slave collar in the factory. The guards ran. The prisoners stood, stunned. Then one raised his fist and screamed. The rest followed. The Crimson Forge didn't fall in battle. It rose in freedom. News spread fast across Zorak space. Earth's warships were not destroying everything. They were choosing what to break, and what to save. Old enemies of Earth grew afraid. Allies of the Zorak started backing away, quietly pretending they'd never supported the Dominion. Some species even sent messages to Earth, not begging for mercy, but asking to join. In the shadow, Sector Zorak's elite warlord, Commander Tuvokran, refused to retreat. He had his own fleet, he had won 100 battles, and he hated humans. He stood on his bridge and yelled, "Bring me Earth's ships. Let them come." They did. In the blink of an eye, 20,000 Terran warships appeared over his fortress. Tuvokran laughed, then ordered all weapons to fire, but nothing happened. His weapons refused, his shields failed, his AI glitched and repeated, "Non-lethal override active. Terran signature detected. Surrender advised." "What?" he roared. Then his entire fleet powered down. Every ship, every engine, dark, dead, no fight. Just silence. Back on Earth, billions watched the events unfold live. The galaxy, once loud with threats, had gone still. Admiral Voss stood before Earth's council. "The Zorak are collapsing. Not because we burned them, but because we showed them what true power looks like." The chairman asked, "How far will we go?" Voss replied, "Only as far as they force us." Another counselor asked, "And after that?" She paused and said, "We teach them." On the last transmission of the day, a young Zorak soldier broadcasted a message on a hidden channel. He spoke nervously in broken English. "To Earth, we were told you are soft, easy. We were told humans forget, But now we see. You don't forget. You remember. And your silence was just the sound before the storm. He saluted the camera. Then the feed cut. In space, 700,000 Terran ships formed across the edge of the Zorak homeworld sector. No attack yet. They waited. Watching. Like a judge standing outside the courtroom, because Earth didn't come to rule. Earth came to remind the stars. If you destroy one peaceful colony, you awaken the wrath of a quiet world. The Zorak Dominion called it their final wall. System 7, also known as Kraxion's Shield, was their most fortified region in space. It had never fallen, not once. 10 planets, 6 moons turned into battle stations, over 200,000 Zorak warships surrounded the throne world. If Earth wanted to reach the Emperor, they would have to pass through System 7. The Dominion believed it was impossible, so they laughed again. But Earth didn't send its entire fleet. It only sent 50,000 ships inside the Silence Breaker. Admiral Voss stared at the tactical map. Red dots filled the screen. Zorak ships packed tight around every orbit. Commander Oren looked nervous. They outnumber us 4-1. Voss didn't blink. Then they'll feel the weight of 4 ships in every strike. High above Kraxion Prime, the sky shimmered. 50,000 Terran warships decloaked at once. Like stars blinking into place, the Zorak fleet panicked. All batteries fire. Protect the Emperor. Thousands of plasma bolts launched into the black. But Earth didn't fire back, not yet. Instead, Earth moved. The Terran fleet split into 10 groups, each targeting a different planet. They folded space againstly. Each group disappeared and reappeared across the system, faster than the Zorak could react. This wasn't brute force. This was a dance of precision. On Kraxion's moonbase, Zorak General Thon barked orders. Use the gravity nets. Pull them in. But the nets activated too late. Earth's ships turned off their own gravity and slipped past like ghosts. No contact, no damage, just slipping through defenses like water through cracks. Then Earth struck. Only once per location. One precise hit to each command hub. Not the ships, not the cities. The cities. The system. And everything else crumbled. On planet Zorak, soldiers watched in horror as their automated gun lines turned, pointing at the sky. A single Earth signal had overridden them. Weapons began destroying Zorak. Drones and tanks. The soldiers tried to shut them down, but the code was too deep. Written in Earth's oldest language. Silence. Commander Oren watched the data roll in. General Thon captured. Moonbase offline. Planetary shield on Kraxion Prime dropped. Resistance minimal. Admiral Voss nodded. Good. Begin broadcast. Across System 7, every screen flickered. A calm human voice played. No threats. No anger. Just words. Earth comes not for revenge, but for justice. You built a wall of fear. We brought light. You wanted war. We brought understanding through strength. You can fire every weapon you own. But we only need one truth to win. You hurt the innocent, and we never forgot. On Kraxion Prime, Emperor Varnok watched the feed from his tower. His strongest generals defeated. His shields down, his people whispering. He stood tall. I will never bow to humans, he growled. Behind him, the sky darkened. A single Terran dreadnought descended over the palace. It hovered without a sound. Then from its belly a pod launched down. It crashed into the courtyard. A human stepped out, alone. No weapon, just a simple data crystal in his hand. The guards aimed their rifles. Stop. But the human ignored them. He walked calmly across the stone tiles. Until he stood face to face with Emperor Varnak. The Emperor raised his hand to order the guards to fire. The human simply said, "This is the list." Varnak paused. What list? The human placed the data crystal on the ground. Kalan Prime. Every name, every age, every face. Varnak didn't move. The human continued. You erased a colony of farmers, children, teachers, engineers, people who never raised a weapon. And now, we erased your fear. The human turned and walked back to the pod. The guards didn't stop him. They were too stunned. Too ashamed. Emperor Varnak fell to his knees. Alone. Behind him, the Terran fleet hovered in perfect silence. They didn't need to fire another shot. They had already won. Back on the Silence Breaker, Admiral Voss received the final report. System 7 secured. Zorak leadership cracked. Fleet losses less than 0.2%. She stood at the front of the bridge and spoke. The turning point has come. The Dominion has seen the truth. Not that we are stronger, but that we remember what they want to forget, and we make sure they never forget again. Across the galaxy, alien races watched. The message was clear. Earth didn't come to conquer Earths, came to correct. And they did it. Without fire. Only precision, only focus, only the wrath of memory. The Crimson Throne stood above the clouds of Zarvax, the Zoric Emperor's secret sanctuary. It was carved into a mountain, surrounded by blood-red skies and storms of static lightning. No ship had ever entered its airspace without permission, until now. Because Earth was coming, not to destroy the throne but to end what it stood for. Inside the throne hall, Emperor Varnak sat alone. His generals were gone, his fleets were scattered. System 7 had fallen without real war. He clutched the small data crystal left by the human. It sat like poison in his hand. One by one, he opened the files. Faces of children, old women, laughing, families, people from Kalan Prime, people his armies had erased, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the Emperor of the Zorak felt fear. A warning alarm buzzed through the mountain. An officer shouted, "Incoming objects, one small ship, no weapons, no fleet nearby." Varnak raised his head slowly. "Let it land." "But I said, let it." Outside, a small black pod descended gently through the storm. It landed on the platform at the base of the throne tower. From it stepped one man, no armor, no guards, just a plain, dark coat and calm eyes. His name was Commander Eli Rorquan of Earth's first colony-born officers. Kalan Prime had been his birthplace, and now he had come home. Inside the hall, Varnak waited, sword in hand. The doors creaked open. Rourke stepped in. They stood facing each other. The most feared ruler in the galaxy and a single human with no weapon. Varnak sneered. "Are you here to kill me?" Rourke shook his head. "If I wanted to kill you, I would have stayed in orbit and watched the missiles do it," Varnak growled. "Then what do you want?" Rourke took a step closer. "To show you what you've never seen." He pulled out a tiny projector. A blue light flickered. Holograms filled the air. Memories from Kalan Prime, a school field trip, farmers singing in the fields, children flying kites under twin suns. And then, the footage changed. Fire, screaming, explosions, Zorak ships raining down destruction, no weapons, no defenses, just innocent people, erased. Varnak looked away. Rourke's voice stayed calm. "You destroyed them to send a message. We heard it. Now we're sending ours." "You think you've shown strength," Rourke said. "You built a throne on fear. We built ours on memory." Varnak clenched his fists. "Then why haven't you taken my head?" "Because we don't need to." Rourke walked forward and placed a small data slate on the Emperor's steps. "This has been transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. Your people, your allies, your enemies. They've seen it. They know who you really are now." Varnak trembled, not from anger but from the truth. Suddenly, one of Varnak's elite guards rushed in. "Emperor, we have a situation. Zorak citizens are storming military depots. They're chanting Earth slogans. Some are laying down weapons." Another report came through. "Slave colonies are freeing themselves. Peace protests in 7 systems. Entire fleets refusing to engage. Our empire is breaking apart." Rourke stepped back. "You didn't lose your empire in battle," he said. "You lost it when you killed children." Varnak collapsed into his throne. His eyes dimmed. He looked up at the man who had come without an army and brought his empire to its knees. "What do I do now?" the Emperor asked quietly. Rourke replied, "You remember every face. You speak their names. You carry their weight. And if your people rise again, you tell them what happened when Earth answered." Back in orbit, Admiral Voss received the transmission. "Crimson Throne neutralized. Zorak, chain of command, broken. No casualties." She looked at the final line of the report and said quietly, "This is how peace begins. Not with fire, but with truth." Across the galaxy, billions watched the footage from Varnak's throne. They saw him weep. They saw him sign the Declaration of Justice. Written by humans, enforced by Earth. The war was over, not with mass death, but with a choice. Earth had given the galaxy something new. Accountability. The Terran fleet didn't stay in Zorak space. They didn't conquer. They didn't demand resources. They simply left behind one thing in orbit above every former battle zone. A satellite. It played the names of the Kalan Prime victims on a loop, over and over in every language. From that day forward, no planet dared strike a human colony. Not because Earth had the strongest fleet, but because Earth never forgot. And they taught the stars that silence is not weakness, it is patience. And patience becomes power. They gathered near the galactic center. 700,000 warships of Earth's armada. Black steel, silver lines, glowing engines. Ships of every size from tiny scout vessels to planet-killer dreadnoughts floated together in perfect formation. A war cry, not a battle. Just silence, and then a single message. Admiral Sharon Voss stood on the bridge of Silence Breaker, the largest ship in Earth's history. Around her screens showed thousands of alien news feeds, cameras, channels, transmissions. All eyes were watching. The galaxy waited, terrified, curious, hopeful. Commander Oren stood beside her. They want to know if we're finished. Voss didn't blink. No, he stiffened. There are more targets. She turned. The war was over, but the galaxy was still holding its breath because Earth's fleet hadn't returned to base. 700,000 ships floated in the quiet of deep space, just outside galactic trade routes, outside enemy territory, and outside fear. Watching, waiting. No one knew what would happen next. Then, one by one, the stars went silent. Across every system once allied with the Zoric Dominion, space traffic came to a halt. Weapons vanished from orbital satellites. Pirate fleets fled outer zones. Entire armies shut down overnight. Not from force. Not from threat. From something far stronger, guilt. On the neutral world of Telvax, reporters surrounded an old Zorak governor. Will Earth demand payment? Occupy your systems, take control. The governor shook his head slowly. They already did, he whispered, but not with ships. Inside Earth's command core beneath the Atlantic, Admiral Sharon Voss walked through quiet halls. The war room was no longer glowing with red alerts, only soft blue lights now. Commander Oren stood by a window overlooking Earth's oceans. It's quiet, he said. She nodded. Too quiet for some, but exactly what we wanted. Far out in the void sector, the last of the Terran fleet received its final orders. The message came from Earth, simple and clear. Stand down, go home, the galaxy remembers. And so, it began. Not a retreat, not a victory parade, but something far rarer, a return without conquest. One by one, the 700,000 warships activated their jump drives, but instead of returning in waves, they vanished, in silence. Not as symbols of power but as shadows of memory. On Varnek's broken capital, the old emperor stepped out onto his ruined balcony. He looked up. No more Terran ships, no more messages. Just empty skies. He fell to his knees and whispered, "They're gone." A nearby aide asked, "Where did they go?" Varnek replied, "Back to their world, where they wait." On Kalan Prime's ashes, the rebuilding began. Earth had sent no troops, no settlers. Only drones. Tools. Seeds. Water, and a single AI pillar that read the names of the fallen. 24 hours a day a new tree grew where the first bomb had fallen. No monument, no walls, just life. A year later, Earth received a message from 147 different worlds. It was not a threat, not a plea, but a pledge. A galactic treaty, the Pact of Kalan, signed by species who had once ignored Earth, attacked it, or laughed at its warnings. The message was clear. We promise to protect all peaceful worlds. We promise to remember. We promise never again. Earth signed it with one line: we accept, we watch, we remember. Back in the quiet valleys of Earth, Sharon Voss retired. She never gave another speech, never commanded another fleet. But in her last public message, she said, "We didn't win with fire. We didn't win with fear. We won by standing still and letting the stars see who we are." On a distant moon, a young alien cadet studied the war in school. He asked, "How many ships did Earth really build?" The teacher smiled. "They say 700,000. The boy blinked. "That many? No," the teacher said. "They didn't build ships. They built a message." And so the galaxy changed. The stars that once echoed with war cries now held silence, but not the silence of fear. The silence of memory, because no one forgot. Kalan Prime, and no one dared test Earth again. Not because Earth was the strongest, but because Earth had spoken. And its silence had been the loudest sound the stars had ever heard. No more targets. But there's one thing left. She walked to the front of the bridge and activated the core speaker. Every single Terran ship mirrored her. Then every relay in the galaxy caught the signal. One voice echoed across space. "This is Admiral Sharon Voss of Earth. We do not come as conquerors. We do not come to demand territory. We come to speak. So you remember." Across thousands of worlds, aliens stood still. On battle stations. In marketplaces. In homes. They watched a human face speak with calm fury. "You destroyed a peaceful colony. Kalan Prime, 9,300 souls. Children, builders, farmers. You wanted to show your strength, and we showed you ours. But what we built was not for war, it was for memory. So hear this, all of you." Her voice grew harder. "If you ever strike Earth again, if you ever touch a single world flying our flag, you will not hear threats, you will not hear warnings, you will only hear silence. And then you will look up and see us." At that moment, Every ship in Earth's fleet powered its engines. The galaxy saw them glow. 700,000 ships lit up like stars. Voss's final words echoed like thunder. "We are done speaking. Now we remember." The screen went black. The signal ended. The galaxy was quiet on the Zorik homeworld. What remained of the Dominion watched the last of the Terran fleet disappear beyond the stars. No planet was scorched, no world was stolen, but every ruler, every warlord, every pirate fleet now feared the silence of Earth. Because Earth had shown what patience looked like, and what it became when broken. On neutral planets, former enemies of Earth began erasing their invasion plans. Some burned weapons caches, others sent diplomatic messages to Terran High Command. One warlord asked, "What does Earth want?" He got a one-line reply, "Leave us alone and remember Kalen Prime." Meanwhile, on Earth, the people didn't celebrate with cheers. They held a ceremony. A single name was read. Every 10 seconds, it took 26 hours to read all the victims of Kalen Prime. When the last name was spoken, the skies above Earth lit up with blue light from the returning fleet. No explosions. No parades. Just a glowing wall of ships in the night sky. A reminder to all, humanity doesn't forget. Deep in the Terran Command archives, a new file was created. Its title When Silence Spoke. Its contents: every step of the Hammerfall Protocol, every intercepted message, every act of restraint, every life spared, every lesson learned. It was locked behind Earth's highest clearance level. But one quote was made public, from Admiral Voss herself. "Our strength is not the fleet. Our strength is the reason we built it." Somewhere on a distant colony, a child asked her father, "Will the humans ever come back with war?" He smiled and answered, "Only if someone forgets why they left."